So I did this video on how to stretch out shrink tubing so you can use it uh, for a slightly larger size. And of course, one of those people without any video shows up and says, I use pliers that are too blunt. So he gets a Joe Padner Award for the month. I clicked on his page, and of course, he has no videos. These guys, they circle the world making comments about, but see that video is a good video because there are people out there that pick up a piece of shrink tube and they go to slip it on and realize it's not going to go on, and they get frustrated. Where I showed you how to stretch it out using a pair of pliers, and for the most part, people like the video, and there are people out there that do the same thing, and there's some people that they work with shrink tubing for years and never think maybe they could stretch it and make it a little bigger. That's the whole point of the video, was improvise. Okay, now this video, I just did a video about some of my tools, and now we're on to tweezers. Now, you'd say tweezers, yeah. When you're into repair and assembly and modifying and building, you're going to need a pair of tweezers. All right? It's that simple. Now, this is a German-made pair of tweezers. It's probably a $20 pair. And you'd say, really? Yep, it's $20 or maybe more. It's stainless steel. And I could tell you the story of this. I worked in a company and I had to repair machines. And when I go inside the machine, sometimes the machine is jammed because one of the girls dropped a pair of tweezers down in the machine. Now, as a mechanic, I walk the floor. And all the girl says, I dropped my tweezers in the machine. I shut the machine down. I go get the tweezers. No, that's what they do. They continue to operate the machine for the rest of the day with like this caught in there. Sometimes it gets caught really bad and messes something up. Sometimes it doesn't. So when I got these tweezers, found these, I kept them. They're mine. Right? Now, so there's a smaller pair. These are really good. And I always tell you about tool balance. These are German made, so someone figured out the average hand. Now my hand's a little bit bigger, but when you hold this in your hand and you operate it, it stays balanced. It stays there in your hand just the right way. Now I have other sizes. This has grippers on it. Got this from the same company. These are stainless steel, and they have grippers at the tip. This is for assembly work and retrieval. You got to be able to retrieve something from inside a VCR or a radio, and sometimes you can see the part, but you can't get it. Now here's a cheaper pair. This is the kind that you get at like Tool Town up on Route 17. It used to be there. I don't know if it's there anymore, but you'd be on the checkout, and they'd have a box of these open, and they'd have a super price on it. And I say to the guy, "What's going on?" He goes, "Nobody ever asked for them." And I bought I think 2 pair, and I gave one away. A lot of my tools, when I left New Jersey, got sold for food. I'm not kidding you. That's how tight it was to get the hell out of there between selling the house and moving to a hotel, putting the stuff in the pods, the whole works. I sold a lot of tools. So here's tweezers. You got to have a pair. And I don't mean I have a pair of eyebrow tweezers in there in the bin. I also have those. But in other words, this is assembly. These are assembly tools. If you ever did assembly, I did assembly for 3 years while I went through high school, and I put myself through tech school. My mother started complaining. Oh, now we got to go through this with you. We went through with your sister going to college, so I paid for my own schooling. And then my mother was embarrassed after I graduated, and she always promised to pay me back, and she didn't. But the next are picks. All right, now picks can be really cheap, and I recommend Harbor Freight set. Different tips on it. All right, you can also, here's a hook tip. You can use a hook tip for stretching a spring into position. Once you use certain tools, you realize you can't live without without them. You have favorite tools. Like in this case, this is the one I use to pull springs on and off. When you're repairing something, even those radios and stuff, there's a spring in there, and you have to be able to hook it, pull it into position, set it in, move it over onto its perch, and then you lift it away. Now this one here, this is a Tools and More I bought. Now I do use some of these. Oh, and this straight one. Well, let me do this one first. I do use this to mix epoxy and to place it in really hard to reach places. So not only do I mix the epoxy with this, I use it as an applicator. And then when the epoxy dries, it peels right off. This might be stainless, but it doesn't matter. It's a cheap tool. But this straight one, I showed you this on a video. You're going to change the capacitor in a radio. And the first thing you do is you heat the lug up that the capacitor's on, both lugs, and you push this through the lug itself and make a new hole. All right, so you got the capacitor, 2 leads, and you make 2 holes, 1 on each lead. You put the new capacitor in that same terminal. You solder it. You then double check to make sure the capacitor, both wires of the capacitor, are in the same location as the cap you're going to cut out. You double check the caps, make sure they're the same value, cut the old cap out. That's how I recap a radio. I don't take caps out and then put a new one in. I make sure I'm on the right holes. And you say, well, I won't have any problem with that. Go watch some of Shango 66's videos. People they recap a radio and put the caps in the wrong place. I just wanted to show you my tools. Now remember, I don't have $40,000 worth of equipment, but I do have tools for assembly, repair, and I know how to use them, and I do use them. And I'm showing you in a couple of videos my favorite tools. And I might show you some of my pliers. I have pliers that I'm attached to. And when I go to do a certain operation, if I can't find that pliers, I melt down. I'm not kidding you, I melt down. Because I told you, certain tools are balanced. These things are pretty good. You know, you can use these for hobby, like gluing and punching little holes. This is the one that I use the most out of the set. This curved one, this does get used for springs, and these other ones I haven't used yet. It's just, I have favorite tools. I might have a set of tools and only 2 out of the set get used. All right, I showed you my, I think that's it. All right, that's it.